shines in this room. There's a presence I can feel in this place. There's a spirit moving through us, alive in every face. It's the very light of God. There's a light that shines in this room, and we live and move in its glow. There's a spirit moving through us, a faith of who we are. We are the light, the very light of God. We are the light, the very light of God. There's a light that shines in this room. There's a presence I can feel in this place. There's a spirit moving through us, alive in every face. It's the very light of God. There's a light that shines in this room, and we live and move in its glow. In this moment there's a oneness, the truth of who we are. We are the light, the very light of God. We are the light, the very light of God. We are the light, the very light of God.
The one and only Lisa Nadeau, y'all. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your gift with us. So grateful. How's everybody doing? Nah, for real. How's everybody? Sometimes we experience waves in our ocean of life, and sometimes we get caught up in that process. I understand that completely. There's so much energy flowing around in the world right now. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's a lot of opportunities to forget our soul. And we're in this May series, The Frequency Shift. And I wanted to share with you some of my thoughts today around, this is sort of a two-part from last week where we talked a little bit about resonance versus resistance. And today I wanted to look at reaction, or moving from reaction to response. And I've said this before, reaction is essentially the same energy just pushed back in the opposite direction. Whereas response, I like the word responsibility. Because I'm a word nerd, if you look at the back end of the word, you see ability, which is power, and you see respond on the front end. So it's my ability to respond. And that's the difference in responsibility versus reaction. And I wanted to look at how we can tune that in differently. And it just so happened that the algorithms had a visitation this week for me with Dr. Bruce Lipton. And it's interesting because I hadn't looked him up in a long time. I used to, especially when we first started seeing a lot of the talk around the biology of belief and understanding epigenetics and all of the beautiful discoveries that have been made through quantum physics. I did a lot of research back then, but it's been a minute since I had done that. And so it was interesting that the algorithms would present it to me because I hadn't looked them up in a while. And you guys know how algorithms are, right? Whatever you've been looking up lately, it starts to feed you all of that. So it was interesting for him to come into my space this last week. And it actually was perfect timing because I had already decided on this talk title, From Reaction to Response, because it was part 2. And that's pretty much what he was talking about. He was talking about environment and how we affect our world, and we don't have to be infected by the world, that we can affect. And those are my words, so I'm paraphrasing for Dr. Bruce in case he ever sees this. He didn't say that. He was saying it in much more medical and scientific terms. But simply put, he was basically saying, and this is kind of his whole message, that we're not victims of our circumstance and we're not victims of our environment. We actually have a lot more power over the environment than we think we do. And so as that has been discovered, it's really put the onus back on us to take responsibility, because in many ways religion and science and education had taken that power actually from us. I don't know if it took it from us or at some point somebody resigned that, like kind of gave it away and gave away sovereignty and agency right along with it. But there is a vibrational frequency, a sound, a message that's occurring in the earth right now that's inviting us all as human divinities to start to operate within our sovereignty and our agency again. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, you are a sovereign being. You have agency. There is a power inside of us. It's the divine nature that often we have forgotten that's on the inside of us that gives us not only the right, but it also gives us the power to take charge of our environment and start to affect how we basically, how we outpicture in the world. It's called gene expression or cellular expression in quantum physics, and we get to decide how we're going to express. Many of us have fallen into the trap of impress, and so we've forgotten how to express ourselves. Make sure you impress the right people with the right stuff. Say the things. Come on, listen, education. I'm not against education. I don't want anybody to think that, okay? And I'm also not trying to blast all of our societal norms. But at the same time, I do intentionally challenge this idea that we are supposed to be a society of memorization rather than a society of imagination. Often we have shut off our imagination so that we can have the right memorization. And we've gotten ourselves caught in loops. And in those loops, we have essentially created a society that I think most of us in this room would agree is just not that hot. I don't mean hot temperature-wise, because here we are in Florida, right? But I mean, it's just not that great. When you look around you, do you see greatness? Or do you see some really mediocre slave mentality belief systems? Am I the only one that when I look out and I see how in many ways we're arguing at this point, fighting for our limitations? Because somebody will say to us, all right, okay, I'm going to try to illustrate this the best way I can with what I think I heard Dr. Lipton say this last week, when he talked about how he could take one stem cell, put it into a petri dish, we'll say on Monday, and that cell would reproduce after its own kind every few hours. Its exact duplicate, a clone, it's called cloning. And he said, but you could come back to it on Saturday and it would have reproduced itself 50,000 times in a week. Because it would produce, then that would produce, and then that would produce, and then they would all produce. They were all multiplying because they were all producing from the original blueprint, from the origin and an exact match. And the only way you shifted or changed the way the cells expressed was to change the environment. So let me say it the way I heard it in my head for many years of theology in various circles and traditions. In the beginning, God, the original stem cell, created the heavens and the earth and everything that's in it. And we were created in its likeness and its image. So in other words, that original stem cell, call it whatever you want, evolutionary theory, that original bang, that original slime, whatever it was, had within it intelligence. And because God essentially is infinite intelligence, it produced after its own kind, multiplied other duplicates with the same potential. But the environment told us we weren't that powerful. And so in the environment, we forgot our original state of being. Our original place in the cosmos is the exact match to the divine parent we were born from. But if we forget it, then we don't express ourselves the way we have the ability to express ourselves. And so somewhere along the line, we forgot who we were. It really literally, like all spirituality, I believe, is at the end of the day, as much as we go through the exercises of what we do, the music, the sound, the technology, the lights, all of the stuff that we're doing, at the end of the day, spirituality should really only be a place that facilitates the remembering of your origin. That you are made of God's stuff. So that you can start to walk around and say, I am that I am. And this activity is spoken of in the Hebrew scriptures, the Jewish scriptures of their ancient tradition, as the Yud He Vav He. I'm not saying that correctly because I don't speak Hebrew, okay? But essentially those words mean the activity or the action or the happening. And out of that happening, you are formed and happen. But you are just vibration in form. And that same formula from your origin dwells within you. Does that make sense? Does that land with us all? And here's the thing, we hear about it in New Thought a lot. We've been hearing about this for years, that you are very God. It's in the Unity language. It's in the Centers for Spiritual Language, Centers for Spiritual Living language. It's in the language. The issue is not the language. The language is fantastic. The language is great. It's the embodiment. It's the activation of it in our being. That's the only reason that we need to practice, because we have practiced for so long an opposite message. See, we become habitually attached to a belief that causes us to argue for our limitations. So much so that when I say within you is the very essence of the divine origin from which you came, there's this list of reasons why that doesn't work. I know because I see it happen in my own life, because I know this to be true. I'm still working, and I don't even like the word work with it, but I'm still attempting to teach my nervous system to believe it. And I actually believe that there is an emergence, an awakening, a conscious revolution or evolution. I like to even say evolution, because in many ways, revolve means to go around or to move in orbit. I think we are being right now in some in a violent way removed from the orbit of the planet that we've agreed to. Maybe not literally, but metaphorically and energetically. And invited into a tuning in differently. Man, this is none of my notes for today. Anyway. All right. Get back to this. Does that make any sense? I mean, I know maybe it sounds like just a mad scientist rant at the moment, but with the advent of quantum physics, epigenetics, and neuroscience, understanding neuroplasticity, knowing how the brain works, knowing that everything is energy. Like we know now that everything is energy. Everything is, it's all vibration and movement. And this is why we are experiencing ripples in the water, because we're 70 to 75% water, somewhere along that lines. And in us, we're experiencing the vibration. This is why we're water, so that we can really experience and express the vibrational frequency. And as we come together as a collective like this to remember, it's all amnesia. Bishop Carlton Pearson makes sense to me now, how years ago he used to say, Jonathan, from the womb to the tomb, our only goal is to remember what we forgot. That's it. At the end of the day, it's just to remember, and that's why we talk about it. But the reason I talk about it in such maybe insane ways, in such passion, and for some people aggressive, I've heard recently. The reason I do it is because I really believe that there is something happening. We are waking up. There is a consciousness evolution happening on the whole planet. And as we begin to vibrate at that frequency, we start to locate other frequencies that are like to that frequency. I can hit a tuning fork in the key of E right here and across the room. As sound travels, somebody can be holding a tuning fork tuned to that frequency, holding it still. And as soon as the sound wave from this one hits it, it will begin to vibrate at the same frequency. So I'm just suggesting that when we get together each week, we're just getting tune-ups. Because we really are just walking tuning forks with car payments. And so we come into this space to go, let's all vibe together. You know, and people think that's woo-woo, and I say it's woo-way, but it's not just woo-woo, it's actually the truth. In you is a vibrational frequency. This is one of the reasons that possibly you have located a place like this. Because there's something in you saying, I cannot continue to tune to limited beliefs. No offense to anybody who has any other belief systems, but I'm not going to go somewhere and be told what I'm not. Come on, y'all. I'm not going to go somewhere and be told I'm a sinner saved by grace, when in fact I am a divine human born from the grace of the divine. I'm not a natural born sinner. I'm a natural born divine sovereign agent sent here from the other side to this side to just voice out the truth that we all carry within us. We're all expressions of the divine. Everybody in this room, you're no more holy. You cannot be any more holy than you are at this present moment. It's just remembering it. I'm not really supposed to preach at the devotional service. I'm not sure why the preacher showed up. Well, last week we talked about resonance over resistance. We said, can we move from resisting to resonance? We talked about how life changes not through force, but through tuning in, attunement. We talked about how the ocean does not fight the tide. Trees don't strain to grow. The Tao Te Ching, as we said, does not force the river and suggests that we not do the same. That life moves with a rhythm. The Celtic mystics, that's my tradition. Maybe this is why I rant. It's a Celtic Scotsman thing, isn't it? What I got to tell you? I even have the kilt. I tell people I'm guilty as charged. The Celtic mystics believe that the soul forgets itself when it loses its rhythm with creation. And in fact, they would say the tides still move, the moon still rises, the seasons still turn. But I would say somewhere beneath all of that noise, our nervous system is still trying to remember the ancient rhythm of peace. This is why there's a return to nature, a return to the mother. This is why there's a return to the divine feminine. Come on, ladies in the house. And come on, men who have connected to that divine feminine. Oh, I love her. Johnetta is so great. I've named her. She's wonderful. Actually, I think she named herself and told me. But we explored something important. We said, whatever you resist internally gains more external. Because Carl Jung said, what you resist not only persists, but it expands or it grows. Resistance creates friction and makes us more susceptible to fiction, the lie. It tightens the body, speeds up the mind, causes that mind. I don't know about any of you, but I don't need extra gas for my mind. So I'm learning to stop resisting because it doesn't need extra gas. It's already fast. It's already loud enough. But resonance teaches us how to stay connected to ourselves even while life is moving. We're not collapsing. We're not controlling. We're not fighting reality every 5 minutes before noon. Some of us have been exhausted. But not because life is happening. We've been exhausted because internally we're arguing with every single moment that shows up. Traffic, politics, your ex, your inbox, your mother-in-law, Mercury retrograde. I got to fight with that today. What is wrong with me? The planets, they have a plan. Some of us just fighting with the self-checkout at the supermarket. Asking, if you're hired here, why do I have to do your job? I saw somebody the other day arguing for that. So we're arguing. So because the thing is, resonance is not passivity, it's alignment, but so many of us have been taught to work hard. And it's learning how to meet life without immediately going to war with life. So that's what we talked about. Today I want to go just a little deeper for just a few moments. Because if humanity, check this out, is going to understand the universe, we're going to need to understand frequency. And not just intellectually, but I think we're going to need to learn it experientially. Because at the end of the day, frequency is an explanation of the universe. And it's also an explanation of you. Because we're not separate from the universe, one verse. We are one verse in versification, and some of us are singing a different verse to the song. And we just need to return to the chorus that doesn't sound alike, but sounds together in harmony. Everything is vibrating. Everything is moving. Everything is communicating. Everything is transmitting. I read a study this last week, and Douglas has probably heard some of these studies, and I think Heart Math released some of this information, but it was around the reality that light is frequency, that sound is frequency, it's vibration, that your thoughts have frequency, that your emotion is frequency, and that your nervous system itself is frequency. This is why I've invited us to stop looking for signs and recognize that we're the signal. We're the broadcast. We are transmitting. Even modern physics tells us now that what appears solid is actually vibrating energy organized into form. So maybe the ancients were onto something when they said, as within, so without. Because the universe is not just made of objects, not just matter, and here's why it matters. Because the truth is that it's made of patterns. It's made of rhythms, resonance. And here's to me where it gets fascinating beyond science and into the realm where science is doing its best to explain what can really best be experienced. Physics now shows us that systems naturally synchronize with dominant frequencies around them. Pendulums eventually swing together. Metronome eventually aligns. Heart rhythms can synchronize. brain rhythms and waves synchronize. Every human nervous system begins to mirror each other at some point, which means your internal state is never just personal, but it's participatory. You're participating. Whether you know it or not, you're participating in the whole of this thing called oneness. This is why I know I keep referencing Douglas, because I just saw him here. The lights were on me for a moment, and so it was like I had to, kind of shade to see you. This is why I believe that my friend Douglas is so not obsessed, but definitely preoccupied with oneness and wholeness and understanding it. Our oneness and our connection, not just with those we like, but with all and everything, every living being on the planet. We are connected. This is participation. Pat yourself on the chest and say, I am participating. I choose to be aware of it. Because that's the difference, y'all. That's the difference. I am participating already. I'm choosing to do it. Here's what I like to say it this way. I'm not living life accidentally. I'm living life intentionally. I'm not going to accidentally bump into life. This is where we get bruises. We get scraped up because we're accidentally living life instead of intentionally. If you're intentionally walking across the room, then you'll see the furniture before you bump into it. Some of us bumping into each other, especially the ones we can think of right now that we don't like, and we're getting bruised and scraped up because we're living accidentally. But you are affecting the field around you at all times. That's why anxiety spreads. But did you know that peace can spread too? Fear is contagious. Of course it is. We see that. It's being used very well. Psychological warfare. We're experiencing it right now at a high level. But did you know that coherence is contagious? That union and unity is contagious? And I'm not talking about a denomination or the name of a church. Unity, the real union, yoga, is contagious also. I have felt this happen. One regulated person can literally begin to stabilize the emotional environment around them. And it's not because they're controlling other people or manipulating. It's not just abracadabra, but it's because frequency influences frequency. John O'Donohue, who was a Celtic mystic in the Christian tradition, he often spoke about the power of a calm and rooted presence. And he talked about how one peaceful soul can become the shelter for others in the middle of a storm. And this is how he referenced the story of Jesus, who was in the bow of the boat when the storm came up, and the disciples are freaking out. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? And Jesus is asleep. And so John O'Donohue actually believed that was metaphor, that Jesus lived at a high enough vibrational frequency. Now, he maybe wouldn't have used those words, those scientific words, but he lived at a high enough level of rooted presence that when he came up to calm the storm, it wasn't an actual physical storm on the ocean. It was a storm on the ocean of their souls. And because he was regulated, because he was in resonance and he was in not reaction, but in response, he was able to calm the storm of their soul. Imagine yourself being somebody who resonates at that level, that you walk into a room and without your words, you bring calm. That's the guy I want to be. That's the person I want to be. Where I can sit down at a breakfast table or sit down at a lunch table and everyone in the restaurant will feel calm. I want my auric field to be so powerful that everybody in my presence feels the presence without me announcing it. I don't want to have to walk into a room and go, hey, everybody, I have on beads and linen pants. And I meditated this morning for 4 hours, so you're good. I don't want to have a big, who's the guy, Flava Flav or something that has a big medallion that says, I'm a guru, so you're good. Everybody's pancakes are going to be better today because I'm here. No, I want it to be a frequency that is so potent that without announcing it, is felt because I'm announcing it in the field. And haven't you experienced that before? One grounded person walks into the room and suddenly everybody starts to breathe a little deeper. That's why fear can spread through a room faster than facts. Dooms themselves shapes who they become. Now, I've told you before that I wondered why it said in that tradition, thinking in the heart. But in the Hebrew thought, we're back. In the Hebrew thought, the heart wasn't just the mechanism that pumps blood or merely the station of emotions. It was the inner seat of consciousness, intention, perception, and ultimately identity. So the reason the writer of the Proverbs says, as one thinks in their heart, is because that's the space where the seat of consciousness is, where intention is. And Heart Math Institute would say, that is the heart brain sending a signal into the quantum field. And what you send out, you get back. So as one thinks in their heart. See, that's why this matters, because your life does not only move according to your intentions, it also moves according to your regulation. Your regulation is based on your belief system. which is built by what you consume. As one thinks, so are they. Your body is always broadcasting, all of the time. You are a walking radio station. And the nervous system is constantly asking one question: am I safe? And when the answer feels like no, your system starts to react. And your breathing changes, your muscles tighten up. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So some of us get tight. Every time we get an invitation to go to a family reunion, we start tightening up. Am I the only one? I mean, sometimes when the holidays comes around, we're like, no, dog, I'm good. We don't have to have it. Is it Christmas again? Do I have to? Our breathing changes. We tighten up. Sometimes the jaw locks. Our thoughts speed up, start telling us all kinds of stories, a narrative. The body starts to prepare for war. And then we usually make it worse. Check this out. Because then we resist the reaction itself. I shouldn't feel this way. I know. I should be more spiritual than this. What's wrong with me? I need to get over this. I need to control this. I did this yesterday. That's why I wrote it down today. I did this same thing yesterday. I was in resistance to something, and then I got into resistance of the resistance, and it piled up. I know none of y'all do this. Not recently, none of you. And then there's stress. And stress is invisible, but how many know it's powerful? Now, it only has the power that we allow it to have, truthfully, okay? I don't want to put any blame or shame on anybody, but the truth is, at the end of the day, that invisible thing can be interrupted by the frequency you choose for your life. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get ready to close up here, but I feel drawn toward this particular quote. Let's see if I can find it here, and here it is. This is, to me, the practical way to deal with keeping my frequency even in the midst of chaos. And I don't even hear the voice of God or the divine or sacred demanding 100%. But can we do this more when we practice this more? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. And it doesn't mean that when we don't, that something is wrong with us, and the worst thing for us to do is to go into self-judgment. But it's to, as quickly as we can, bring ourselves back to the center. This is what meditation's for, back to the center. This is what deep breathing is for, back to the center. Viktor Frankl wrote this. Anybody familiar with Viktor Frankl? You know who Viktor Frankl was? You know, he was in concentration camps, the Nazi concentration camps, and was asked later, wrote many wonderful things, was asked later how he held it all together while being starved, being tortured, the constant fear of death, but maybe even worse, living and being tortured. And he was asked, how did you hold it together? One of the things that he said that is so powerful, and this means that we can do this, even in the circumstances we're currently in. Because can I say that it might be $4.70 a gallon for gas, but not a single person in this room today woke up inside of a concentration camp not sure whether or not you would be tortured again today. And I'm not trying to make us feel ashamed, but can I say the chaos we're dealing with and the fear that we're dealing with is a little different than that imminent danger that Viktor Frankl was dealing with at his time. So a deep breath in to acknowledge that the air condition didn't get turned on early enough, but it is cooler in here than out there. And hear this from Viktor Frankl in closing. This is how we see the move from reaction to response. He said, between stimulus and response, there's a space. Whew. And in that space is our power to choose. Between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space is our power to choose. Friends, that space may be the holiest place in human experience. The Celtic monks often spoke of this space as the listening heart. The heart that's quiet enough to hear the sacred waves. The heart that's quiet enough to hear the voice of God in the wind and in the silence. And this is what one of those monks said, and it just got me. This space, the listening heart, is quiet enough to hear the voice of the divine, even in the ache of being human. This is us not forgetting our soul in the midst of chaos. Because at some point this week, something's going to happen. Someone's going to disappoint you. Somebody's going to text you something you didn't want to see. There's an argument that's going to start, a memory that's going to get triggered, and immediately the body wants to react, get defensive, go on attack, maybe withdraw. That's normally mine, by the way. Is that too vulnerable? Normally when something happens to me, I'm more quick to withdraw. And you know what I've called it most of the time, and maybe this is my practice. I've said I'm withdrawing so that I don't say something I'll regret. Because I practice love and compassion. And there's also a Scotsman in here that knows right where the sword is. But in the midst of that, can I let go of trying to control and not collapse? Can I take that sacred pause and not suppress and not pretend, not bypass, but just breathe long enough to remember I do not have to become this moment. This moment's happening, but I don't have to become the moment. Because to me, that's what changes the frequency. So I leave you with this blessing. May you trust your breath again. May your nervous system remember it was never designed to live at war with life. May peace return to your body in the quiet and the ordinary ways. Like rain softening dry ground. Like morning light touching the sea. Like firelight warming an old stone room. May you become rooted enough that urgency no longer controls you, gentle enough that love can still reach you, present enough to hear the deeper rhythm underneath all the noise. And may you remember that calm is not weakness, peace is not passive, that presence is power tuned accurately. And so it is. And so it is. Thank you. I love you. I'm grateful for you. So taking this moment now to just breathe in deep, feel the surface beneath you. We'll just do a 3 to 5 minute meditation here. And then Kathy's going to come and share with us our announcements for the week. But in this moment, allow yourself to sit in what you've heard today and in some way how it affected you, maybe where you felt it in the body. But for a moment, just feel the surface beneath you, how you are held. You are held. You're not even having to hold yourself. And allow those shoulders to just fall away from the ears for a moment. Just soften. Allow the forehead to just soften in the cheeks, maybe the small muscles around your eyes to just loosen. Allow the jaw to unclench, the chest to soften. Allow the belly to soften. Intentionally soften into this moment. Remember your soul. Remember that you are a divine being. In human form. Remember that you are energy and frequency, extending out into the world. And what kind of frequency are you sending out? What kind of broadcast? Take a deep breath, if you would, into the heart space. And exhale. And allow the feeling of love and gratitude now. Feel the sensation of love. Invite the senses into gratitude. Bring your entire self into vibrational coherence with love and gratitude. Become aware of the rhythm of life. Maybe by placing a hand on your chest and feeling the rhythm of your heart. Maybe by placing a hand on your belly and feeling the rise and the fall with the breath. Either way, feel the rhythm of life. Allow yourself to feel the sensation of bliss, the bliss of this rhythm that's never in absence from you. And now allow this loving awareness, this appreciation, this gratitude, this bliss now to begin to move throughout your body. Actually notice how the cells are activated. As the cells in your body come into alignment with this higher principle. Love, joy, and peace. Gratitude and bliss. choosing these as my frequency. And I choose to teach my body, my nervous system, to take full advantage of that sacred moment between stimulus and response. That holy moment where my power is. And so one more wonderful regulating breath in through the nose. And exhale through the mouth. And as I go throughout this day and the rest of this week, I choose again and again that sacred moment of choice between stimulus and response. I choose that as my habit, to slow down, to breathe. To respond instead of react. So maybe allow a smile to be on your face. If you feel comfortable doing so, begin to feel once again the surface beneath you. Maybe your feet on the floor. Maybe stretch if you would like. Move the fingers and the toes. Allow yourself to come fully back into this room. And do this if you would. Just wrap yourself in a beautiful hug. You know you give the best hugs. Just hug yourself. Ain't you all beautiful? I love you. I'm grateful for you. Kathy, if you would, share with us our announcements for the day. I'll get this podium moved for you. You're welcome. There you are. Make sure it's on. There we go.
Good morning, family. It's really awesome to see all of you this morning. And I know we have a few new folks. If it's your first time here or first time back, would love to get to know you. At the welcome desk in the back, we have a gift and a get acquainted card. So come and see us. And we'd love to get to meet you. Wednesday night meditation will be in here at 6 p.m. And this week is Mari.
Mari, yeah.
And so there will be some chairs to be seated, but there's also room to bring your mats, pillows, and just get comfortable on the floor. Save the date, St. Pete Pride. We'll have a booth at the Pride March Festival on the 27th of June, and we'll be loading in at 10 a.m. It starts at 2, and then we'll be there through 9 p.m., and then we have to take everything apart, etc. So we're really hoping to get some folks who want to sign in for little blocks of times, right, where people can come up and you can share the experience, what we stand for, etc. So there's a sign-up sheet at the welcome desk also. So if you'd like to pick a block of time, we'd super appreciate it. And it's going to be fun. Also, check out our, no, that's for the other service. And also, we need some volunteers for greeters. I know some of you are mostly the morning service and others the 11 o'clock. But especially for the morning, if there was an extra person or two. And I guess that's how I get involved. And I realized that it was a great way to meet people because then I got to learn most of your names, and the bonus is I get a hug. So if you'd like to come and greet and serve, that would be great. There's also a sign-up sheet in the back. And last but not least, today is, I don't know if you'll be sticking around, but the Voice of Love is doing their bake sale. There's a lot of yummy stuff. To help them raise money for some of the group activities that they do. So again, thank you, and have a great rest of your Sunday.
Thank you, Kathy. Yeah, and I think, am I mistaken? I don't know. I don't see Angie back there, but I think they're set up even for right after this service as well. They have a few things that are set up for the bake sale. So if you'd like to take something sweet with you home, besides somebody here, if you'd like to take a cookie with you, you're welcome to do that. Okay, let's go ahead and do our peace song and our prayer of protection together. If you would stand, let's create a circle today. What a beautiful group of people. And listen, I encourage you, invite somebody to come be with you. When I first moved here to Florida, and I found out that most folks don't get up this early in the morning in Florida, but I see there's a collection of folks who do, and so make sure that you invite somebody to come and be with you. All right, let's do our peace song together. Now there is peace on earth, and it has begun with me. Now there is peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Now there is peace on earth. Yes, this is the moment now. With every step I take, yes, this is my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Now there is peace on earth, and it has begun with me. In our prayer of protection together, the light of God surrounds us. I am the light. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love. The power of God protects us. I am the power. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And so it is. I love you, family. As you start to leave today, if you want to leave a financial investment, there's a box at the back, and also I think Kathy and someone else